let me create post. There we go. Yet again, another sort of semi-decent morning today. It's not raining, although it did rain overnight. So I highly suspect that we are definitely in for a bit of mud. Should be fun when we get to that's for sure. However, once again, we are out in the brisk, wonderful cold, as always, down here in Yorkshire. But it's getting colder. I think it's 8 degrees today or something like that, I think. So, yeah, we are well and truly out of the what's been an actually good summer, to be honest. Haven't had that good a summer for a while. It's been all right, but you know, we've had ish better times, but there you go. But we've had a good morning so far. Hey, it's a nice morning, bit cold, bit brisk, but you know, this is what, this stuff is for. Keeps my ears warm and my head warm. So can't complain at that, at least. But oh my, it's been an interesting week. I want to start off with some of the stuff. Richard, good morning. Like I say, good morning to everyone joining us. Hope you're having a nice, good start to your weekend. You've had a good week. You're ready to rock and roll. So, there we go. Dodge that. I have to say, and I will say this now, I think the farmer's done an absolutely good job in this. Rem, good morning to you. Because I don't know if you remember, this path was an absolute bog. And it was mostly because of all the cows. They'd come in here, they'd eat from here, and then they'd just trample this. And this entire thing would be trampled. And it would be a nightmare to get past. But I'll give the credit to the farmer. He's managed to really smooth it over and make it an actual good walkable path. Meanwhile, of course, the cows have been moved into that field far over there somewhere. They're over there somewhere. Whether they will return, we don't know, but we'll see. But yes, good morning. Whoop, there we go. To everyone joining us. It could be quite a muddy one today. Billy Mack, good morning to you. Whoop, there we go. Like I say, good morning. It's an actual good day today, believe it or not. I was expecting it, to be honest, to be raining and maybe having to do an indoor morning walk, but actually it's, as you can see from the sky, it's quite clear. So we managed to avoid that today. But yeah, back to where I was. Interesting week it's been today. And I'm going to do some more videos about Leicestershire, because with all the stuff that's been going on in Kent recently, I've missed some stuff going on in Leicestershire. But don't worry, we'll be catching up with that later today. Anyway, Hainley, good morning to you from Zealand. Good morning. Resident Evil, good morning to you. Ash, good morning to you as well. Like I say, good morning, everyone joining us. Alice, absolutely wonderful. Good morning, Walk. Ben, good morning to you as well. I think we'll start off with some Donald Trump news. It's always fun to start off with the Trump news. The White House, or the East Wing of the White House. Put it this way, it hasn't seen renovations like that since the War of, 1812, where we burnt down the White House last time. Donald Trump emulating the British there. Oh. But yeah, I generally can't believe he's just gone on such a rampage of like just destroying such a building like that, because you would never ever in a month of Sundays be able to do that in the UK at all. It would just be absolutely impossible. And I'm sure some of you will remember not that too long ago. Oh, Diamond, good morning to you. Like I say, good morning everyone joining us. But I'm sure some of you remember, what was it? It must have been a year or two ago now. The whole Crooked House fiasco, where it was very, very obvious that, mysteriously it all burnt down, and oh look, we've got these land rights to try and build a new house or whatever. Oh, crazy time indeed for when that went off. But that's the type of thing you would never ever be able to get away with, like, ripping down this type of thing. You would never be able to get away with it in the UK. And I don't think, honestly, you could ever get away with it probably anywhere in Europe. Anyway, good morning to everyone else joining us as well. But it is, I see people are discussing mine. You do realise this is the UK, right? In the north of England. In autumn. It's cold. But anyway, yeah, odd time certainly for America on that one. I wonder if Donald Trump will ever face any repercussions for that. I doubt it somehow. The shutdown still continues. So it looks like this could very well be a record-breaking shutdown again. So I believe it's the end of next week. I believe it starts probably going longer than the last shutdown, which wasn't Donald Trump. Surprise, surprise. So that will certainly have a lot of consequences when that kicks off. I need to run, not walk. Well, I'm not exactly in running gear. And besides, this is a good enough walk. This is a good enough walk to have it on. Oh. Yeah, Charles, good morning to you. Good morning to everyone else joining us. What are these now defecting Tories going to do when the reform bubble bursts? Probably not. Probably suffer quite a bit. You've always got to remember what we've constantly talked about is that all these Tories that have jumped ship, they're not the best Tories. You know, they're not the best ones that have jumped ship. That's why when Nadine Dorries jumped ship, there was a lot of this internal stuff going on that we saw that was like, oh yeah, we're a bit now hesitant now to jump ship because Nadine Dorries had jumped ship. I mean, to any American viewers out there, this would be like Nadine Dorries is pretty much probably our equivalent of Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's a bit of a nutcase. But yeah, it's really, really weird the fact that all these they've accepted all like the failure Tories. And well, just going back to Leicestershire, I mean, Dan Harrison, the guy who's leading Leicestershire County Council for Reform, he's terrible, and we've seen that firsthand. We've seen that firsthand, how bad he is, getting absolutely savaged. And bear in mind, I'm going to do some videos about him later on today, because we've missed some stuff with all the craziness going on in Kent, that's for sure. But he was an ex-Tory. You know, he was an ex-Tory. He was part of the Conservative Party for years. And all of them think that they are like God's gift to conservatism. Why aren't I being given a cabinet position? Why aren't I being, you know, given a higher position within the local party? They're all the same. So they've jumped ship. Because Reform are desperate for people who, quote, know what they're doing. The big problem is these people don't know what they're doing. That's why in the Conservative Party they never gave them any like positions of power, because they knew they were awful. They knew they were terrible. And the Leicester one in particular gets really weird, because another one of like the Conservative councillors that's still actually on the council is actually like his son-in-law. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that makes family dinners a bit awkward. That's for sure. Billy, good morning to you. Good morning to everyone else joining us as well. But yeah, it's interesting times. Interesting times indeed. And speaking of voting, brings us round to Caerphilly. Because we were told by all the media, Reform's got this in the bag. Like this is their like easy win for like the Welsh Senate. And it was kind of hilarious where you could see all the Reform accounts on the day of the vote pretty much celebrating a win. And here's the thing. They would have won if there had not been a Stop Farage campaign. Because that's what took off. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Yesterday was a very joyous one in the eyes of Reform, to a point where they were still selling tickets to their victory party. I mean, that's how overconfident they were. Like, that is how overconfident they were that they were going to win. And let's talk about what ended up stopping them, because I think this is something really should be talked about. So, first of all, what you got was this election proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that there is still a big selection of the population that, from the last general election, really took to heart the message of tactical voting. So that, in a way, is like really kind of good in many respects. That is like a really good thing. You know, has the British public finally got the idea that, you know, tactical voting is a thing and you can do this, and, you know, tactical voting campaigns, you know, can work. That's good. That seems to be something that the British public, after the last general election, finally took the message on. And I think Caerphilly, I don't think I've spelled it right in the description, by the way. Sorry to any of my Welsh viewers. I have no idea how you spell Caerphilly. I might have to correct it after the stream. I just guessed how you spell it. So this is, I think, such good news, because you've then got to look at what the turnout rate was. The turnout rate was 50%. Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you very much, Richard. You know, the turnout rate was 50%. And I cannot understate just how big that turnout actually was. Because this was a by-election. And it was a by-election for a Senate seat, which normally oscillates, for that type of by-election in the past, has been roughly around 25 to 30%. In fact, 30% would be considered actually a very good result for a turnout of that particular seat indeed. So to get 50%, I cannot just overstate how good that was. And the next question really becomes, like, how they achieved it. Oh, Caroline, good morning to you. Good morning to everyone else joining us. Oh, switch hands. Got some morning ponies. But, oh boy, what won? Well, this also exposed yet another weakness Reform has, and that's the ground game. Because I think people so underestimate, you know, that the ground game plays such an importance in any general election. You know, you need people out there, door knocking, you know, delivering leaflets. And here's the thing, Reform, from what we know, had pretty much none of that. They threw so much money into this area, mostly just based on social media stuff, thinking that, oh yeah, all this media stuff will win us the election, which is why I think you saw every single Reform person on the day of the election was going like, oh my God, we will win. And I think that's because they ended up in a bubble. I really did. I think because all they did was just invest in like this social media operation, rather than not also like a ground-based operation as well. What ended up happening is a lot of these people ended up in a bubble and they lost. Like, they lost hard. They lost so hard on this. And you can tell by, I think, what the shocked reaction was of the guy who lost. If you've seen the photo. And I and a couple of them myself, we've already been out here in my area, because we're not the only council at the next May local election that is basically doing a full sweep. All like 62 of our council seats are up for grabs because of boundary changes. So we're not the only council that's going for this. I really do worry we might end up going for reform in my area, because, as I've said before, our turnout rate, our last local election, 25%. That is not a good turnout rate for that, that's for sure. Anyway, let's read some comments. Richard, don't forget Refuck had all their MPs out. They won't even be able to do that for every seat in the election next year. Again, yeah, very true, because you've got to have a ground game. And from what we can see so far, Reform doesn't seem to have a ground game. They seem to have just think that they can just invest everything in social media and that will get them a win. Now, there is a lot of evidence, as we've seen from that Caerphilly by-election, and we've said this before, one of the good things that Reform actually does is they get their people out to vote. Like, they know that if they get their people out to vote, they've probably got a very good chance to win. And you saw in Caerphilly, they had about, 30 odd % of the vote. So, they can get their people out to vote. And that's, again, what we've got to watch not only at the next local election in May, but we also have to watch that potentially at the next general election as well. Billy, won't Wales use PR at the next local elections? No. For the Senate elections, yes. The next Senate elections will be that. I don't know if it actually affects local elections or not. Caroline Goodwin replied, tactical voting helps swing it for them. Absolutely, because that's what won it for them. Blue Badger, good morning to you. Somewhere in Ukraine? No. Looks like I'm about to ambush a T-72. Yeah, there we go. But yes, I am very, very, very much convinced that in May, all these local elections are going to be down to turnout. If you do not want a Reform council, then my message to you is you need to get out there and you need to start driving out the vote. Because if you don't, you're going to have a lot of problems because Reform are. As we've been doing our own stuff on here, you know, out here, to say in the real world, we also know Reform are trying to do that as well, back to us, because they know Turnout is probably going to win a couple of these seats for them at the next election. Not the next local election, well, sorry, should I say. So yeah, turnout's important. Turnout is so important at the next election. Oh dear. It looks like, I don't know if people can see. I don't know if people can see because of the sun. Got some swans. And I'm a bit worried because their babies have decided to come down through the, I don't know if you can see them, swan babies trying to muddle their way through. Oh, there he goes. Poor things, they've probably hurt themselves quite a bit, because those are all thorn bushes. Good one, boys. You've done it. Could have gone that way. Yeah, like I say, swans. Got to be careful. There you go. Have a good flap. There you go. Well, not something you see every day. That's for sure. Or something you see every day for sure. That's for sure. So yeah, that was after our little swan interlude on that one. Where were we? Yes, Turnout. That's right, Turnout. It is going to come down to Turnout. Honestly, I mean, Caerphilly sort of proved it. That Turnout is going to very, very much so matter at the next local elections in May. Tactical voting at a local level, I think that will play a part in it, especially. But it's going to be a very, very much patchwork. Very, very much so a patchwork, and I think it's going to make it very, very difficult indeed to try and rally people for, you know, local council elections on that one. Because local elections are a lot more complicated than a national one. Because we also saw yesterday, was it Colchester? Labour won there for a local council election. Because a lot of these, you know, the main parties, they know what they're doing. They know how to run a council. And they do it very well. And not only that, but they teach people, you know. They don't just put brand new councillors into you know, important roles where they can, well, screw up constantly and just be absolute terrors. You know, they all know. They teach people how to do it. Meanwhile, of course, Reform can't, and Reform has never done that. It never had any serious operation to actually teach people how to be councillors. Because if you apply to be a councillor, they do this mentoring thing, And I'm just going off sort of what I know happens here, bear in mind. They do a mentoring thing if you've never been one. You know, they encourage you to come to council meetings, you know, see how it all works. On that one, so yeah, it is very, very important that you have people at least know and understand, you know, how the council works, but not so, of course, say Reform UK. Now then, I wonder how bad this route's going to be today. There we go. Phone box, good morning to you. Good morning to everyone else joining us, by the way. Phone box, I'm just so happy Coventry is not part of Warwickshire Council. You slightly dodged out of the range of them there. On that one. So it's going to be a interesting time ahead, that's for sure, for local politics. And I do worry about my own local council, because our local council, Gilly, good morning to you. You know, our local council, the Labour local council, has done a lot of really good work. You know, with our local, with our local town, they've done and fantastic work. You know, if you are a resident of my hometown, you know just how, in a very few short years, our town centre has transformed. Like, our town centre is just absolutely transformed. You know, on that front, and that's because of the Labour policies. That's what because they've done. They've decided this is how they're going to do it, and they've done it by doing something very different. They haven't followed the usual council route. They've gone and done something very different. So that has proved very, very good. Nope, for them. Ooh, on that. There we go. So we don't tolerate we don't tolerate Russian propaganda on this channel. So yeah, it's going to be interesting when it does come to local elections. And, Caerphilly's sort of proven that you can get out there, but it's also proven, and I honestly think that, like, the Greens, the Lib Dems, etc., they're not going to like hearing this, but it's sort of proved that at the 2029 general election, if you look at all the data, it's become very, very clear the 2029 general election might very well be a Starmer versus Reform election. And if it comes to that, if you actually look at YouGov polls, who do people prefer, a second-term Starmer or Nigel Farage? Starmer actually beats Farage every single time. Gets over 45% regularly on that one. Oh, hang on. Oh God, let me get past this. Jesus Christ. I knew this would be bad. I knew this would be bad. This is why, honestly, when it gets to winter, we're going to have to probably start going the other way now. After this one. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is bad. This is very bad. In case you can't tell, or at least hear, ooh, squelch. The squelching. This is insanely muddy, but also very, very dangerous. Because if you fall either A, straight onto a patch of rocks, which again will not be very good, or you fall straight into probably or you fall straight into, you know, some bushes, which, you know, will not be very good. That's for sure. So it has sort of proven that if the 2029 general election basically comes down to a straight Reform versus Nigel Farage, a lot of people will basically most likely vote tactically, and their best tactical vote is going to be Labour or the Lib Dems, which will derail Zach Polanski's plans quite significantly if that's what the next election comes down to. Especially as the fact that also happened this week, 3 Scottish Greens have joined your party. Now, I know technically they're different parties, but as we said before, now that your party is going to start getting active and actually start getting up and running, Polanski has to now deal with that. You know, he actually has to start dealing with the fact that he's probably got another left party, which is also going to pull support away from him. And at the end of the day, that's not going to be very good for them. Especially as we've seen things like Zara Sultana openly now attack Zach Polanski. So it is going to be, I think, a sad day if you know, you want to beat Reform, and the way you beat Reform is you vote tactically. And if you look at the vast majority of seats, it's not Greens that are going to win those seats. But as we said, 2029 is a long way off. You know, Nigel Farage could have an aneurysm by then, and you know, boom goes the your party on that one. Oh dear, we've got a bit of a Russian troll here. Yeah, blocked again, just like the Russians just got blocked by the Ukrainians and absolutely destroyed recently. Yeah, it's not going good for you on the battlefield, is it? Crime. Tell you what, how about you go live in your own fantasy world? Just like Vladimir Putin. Yeah, that's a good point, Sarah. Yeah, about the Emperor in Star Wars. It'll just get worse. Oop. But that's the situation, quite frankly. And I honestly, if it comes down to that type of election in 2029, Zach Polanski does run the risk of splitting the vote and letting Reform in. They might not win outright, but he could split votes enough to let Reform in some places. Because if Reform can command, as they've shown in Caerphilly, like 30%, that's a not too significant potential amount of a vote. You've got to be able to beat 30%, and you've got to be able to beat 30% very comfortably. That's the message that has been sent, and I think there is a message sent by this by-election in particular, that there is now a block of voters who at the next general election will vote tactically to say, we do not want Nigel Farage. And that's a big problem for Nigel Farage, because, as you've also seen very recently, they've also been crying about the fact that tactical voting was what beat them. So make no mistake, they are very well aware of that fact, and they're going to try everything they can now, probably to try and confuse people about which tactical voice choice vote there is and all that kind of stuff in those areas. So we're certainly keeping an eye on what our local lot do on this, that's for sure. Sarah Davis, I know the fight is not over yet, but I'm glad, of course, the by-election is done. I send sort of weeks on Reform Wales sites being attacked, spreading now the worst on Reform vote, what I will do to people. So, yeah, I'm crying over PMQs, yeah. Which, by the way, makes Farage look so weak. First past the post, not first past the post, Farage doing this whole stunt is, it makes him look so weak, and I think he makes it look like he's somehow good. But as we said, we know why he's doing it. It's to avoid questions about Nathan Gill. Because as I said last night on the Politics Social, if he answers any question in like a professional capacity, as an MP in Parliament, then his response becomes a matter of record. And at that point, people will then start looking into what he said, and they will start to pick it apart. And at that point, the thread starts to become very, very loose indeed. So, in a way, Labour has sort of won by forcing Starmer out of Parliament. And whenever he's in the chamber, what I would organise is I would make sure a question gets put to Farage about Nathan Gill, about what did he know, when did he know it, And does he think, and has he, given his information about all this to the security services? Because at that point, all you do is Farage will just run away from Parliament. It will make him look so very weak. And if he does answer any of those questions, well, that now becomes a matter for the official record, and those things can now be looked into quite significantly. So in many ways, this is actually quite a very good victory that Farage has now run away, trying to employ Trumpian tactics, which we also know doesn't work too well with the British public. So it's becoming quite a big problem for Farage. And bear in mind, what have I always said about Farage when people were, when we constantly get, oh my god, but look how far ahead in these, etc. they are in these polls. What do I always say? What do I always say? You cannot keep up that momentum forever. It is impossible. Given the amount of fact that, scandals like this will keep on cropping up, the fact that these reform councils keep on failing, imploding, you cannot keep this up. What's my favourite saying? Time eventually always proves me right. Yeah, we'll see on this one. Let's get to some questions. Over that. Yeah, you can't lie in Parliament. Yeah, very true, Sarah. Yeah, it's part of his whole man, part of the anti-establishment play. But the thing is, if he ever wins, he's no longer the anti-establishment. He is the establishment, which we've also often said, if Farage does win, then it's like the worst thing ever for him. Because as you're seeing in these councils, he actually has to perform. You actually have to do stuff. You are then responsible. You're in charge. And that's where your promises that they all made during this election start to fall apart. I mean, we've got one county council, Worcestershire. They want to do a 10% council tax increase after running last May saying that they would lower council taxes. I mean, honestly, this is just an absolute comedy. It honestly is. It's unbelievable. It generally is unbelievable, the amount of comedy shenanigans that have been going on there. It's an absolute comedy of errors. Yeah, that's the other one as well I'm going to be doing. Yeah, Nottingham County Council, again run by Reform, spent 75k on flags. I'm sure the people of Nottingham are absolutely fine with their council spending 75k on flags. Jesus. And I often have to wonder whether at the next local election, right, whether we're going to get a donut effect where you see all these areas around those reform councils suddenly go, don't think so, don't want that, don't want that, no thank you, and they start running, and that affects them in those other surrounding areas for those votes. We won't know, of course, until May and the vote comes in, mind you, but I would not be surprised if that happens. Because in Kent, as we talked about again recently, there's a lot of people in Kent very, very upset they voted Reform. Very, very regretful indeed. Which also scuppers their re-election chances as well. Which is also why Cornwall Reform has also imploded this week. See what I keep on telling you? There's so much stuff that goes on in these local councils. Sometimes you do not have the time to report on all the nonsense that goes on in them. But as always, we are at the end of our morning walk today. So thank you very much for everyone. Oh, can we get in? There we go. Getting in the shade at least. Thank you very much everyone for joining us this morning on the Good Morning Walk. Enjoy your weekend. If you, as always, if you can't be safe, at least be sensible. Have an absolutely fantastic weekend, everyone. Go out, enjoy yourselves, have fun, and of course, hit the like and share button on your way out. Leave a comment down below, and of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.